We have door failure. We have a door failure. The bottom of this door finally got soft and rotted off. And I had added onto it in the past, and I think it's because the bottom was rotten when I put it up there. And this door doesn't really do anything except give me a little privacy in my outdoor shower from the alley. So not only that, the hinges are rusted, so when I open and close it, I'm kind of torquing the door. I'm going to get it down, get it in the shop, and see if I can't. I'm going to patch it again, because no sense in getting a new door for here. So it looks like when I patched this door up last time, this looks like I took the biscuit joiner and did some divots and put some biscuits in there to kind of strengthen this up. I did go to the trouble of using stainless steel screws, and the hinges rusted solid. This one wasn't moving anymore. And this board, which is on the bottom of the door, it's like a sponge. So get this apart, throw this away, take this bottom part apart and clean it up. Get all this flaking paint, get rid of it. It's probably lead paint, I don't know. And let it dry for a few days, and we're gonna patch it up and put it right back up. So this bottom add-on board is screwed and glued to the original part of the door. Now I got out this screw and this screw, but I cannot get this screw out. And I thought maybe if they were bronze, I would just cut them with the table saw, but they're steel. So I'm gonna take the jigsaw, I'm gonna cut this one off. That'll get rid of that screw that's poking out. I'm gonna cut this off, and then I'll make 2 cuts close to this and just try to chip out that hunk of wood with that screw. And then I'll take the table saw and rip this off and throw this away. And then we'll start cleaning up. Okay, I got the last screw out of the hole. Now we can rip this off with the table saw and throw this junk away and start cleaning up the door. I want to get the doorknob off, but it's kind of rusted. I actually got the screw out of this side, but it won't come off the little shaft. So I'm gonna flip it over and see what we can do on the other side. So we got both sides scraped. That took a little bit. Everything's vacuumed up. Most of the window glazing compound came off, so the windows are loose. I'm scared I'm gonna break them, so I'm gonna try to go ahead and take them out, put them in a safe place, because there'll be no replacing this glass. I don't know how old it is, but it ain't new. So both sides of the door scraped down, all the stuff vacuumed up, all the loose paint is off, and then I went and sprayed it with a Clorox mixture to kill this algae. And then I went in the attic and found this board, which I'm going to use to patch up the bottom. But right now, I just need to leave it alone for a few days because it's soaking wet. I'm just going to put it to the side. All right, it's been a few days, it's been a week actually. Got the door back on the table. It's sort of dry. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is address an outer square issue. You can tell there's a crack here and none here, and the opposite over there. The door has sagged. The hinges are on this side. Well, the last time they were on this side, they used to be over there at some time because there's a doorknob over here. But anyway, it's an old door. So I'm going to try to get this outer squareness out and then put some sort of gussets in here. I need to cover up all these holes anyway, so try to give it some strength. Let's see if we can jack it straight. Okay, I didn't have a bar clamp long enough, so I piggybacked 2, and it did pull square without too much trouble. So I'm going to reinforce this joint and this joint before I go any farther, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the same with the other side because they're pretty much all drilled out and boogered up. So I'll put some little guides. This is to guide my router. I got a straight cut bit on the router. I'm going to try to go 3/8 of an inch. However, there's some long screws going in this a ways that I put the last time I fixed this door, or the first time I fixed this door, or when I fixed this door. I'm kind of anxious about hitting them, but I'm going to go try to get 3/8 or until I hit the screws, one or the other. All right, I gotta change my plan. This has gotta be a one and done, because once I start routing, I can't go deeper there won't be anything to hold up the router. So I've got to set my router to 3/8 of an inch and then go for it and hope I don't hit metal. That cypress smells so good. Okay, that went well. I left some little bumps because if I route everything out, I run the risk of the router tipping and digging a deep hole. So I can clean these up with the chisel. So I made this one a little bit with a less overlap than the first one, but when I flip it over, I'll do a long overlap on this one and a short overlap on that one, so they won't like be cutting the board in half. So I need to find some suitable wood and cut a plug, and I think I'm gonna do this with epoxy because there's no really good surfaces to glue to. I got my patches cut and I put on a coat of neat epoxy or unthickened epoxy, and I'm gonna put some thickened epoxy and stick these patches in here, and I'm done for the day because this sets real slow. We got a hurricane coming tonight. Hurricane, what, Franciscan or something like that? Shouldn't be too bad here. A lot of rain. We'll probably lose power because this city has so many trees that there's always 1 or 2 or 3 or a dozen that come down, interrupt power. And then the hurricane is going to go straight over our property in Mississippi. By then it should have lost most of its strength, but still it's a little disconcerting. So anyway, I'll put some thickened glue on here and set these boards, and then I'm done for the day. So you might be second guessing me about spending time fixing this door. And I'm second guessing myself some too. But what am I going to replace it with? It's an oddball size. It's not a standard door size because it's old and they didn't have standards back then. One side is totally in the weather, no overhang at all. And it faces that alley which gets no sun, so it's always damp. So, you know, a Home Depot door is not going to hold up worth a flip. I probably could just build a wooden, like a shutter. That wouldn't be hard. But that wouldn't let any light in. It'd be kind of a dark little corner without these window lights. So, yeah, I kind of need to fix this thing. And it's an interesting project. I enjoy trying to save stuff that's past its point of usefulness, kind of like myself. Anyway, we're fixing it. Right or wrong, we're going to fix this door. Okay, same thing. Same thing on this side. I'm going to check the square first. It should have not moved. First half of the second side of the door, I'm ready to route. I got my little frame. Oh, I don't have it set up. I got to have a stop on this side. And then I will route this out and swap it to that side, which can be a smaller one. Because 1, the patch on the other side was real big. And 2, I don't have that many holes to fix. This is an old part of a door. I used to have lots of this stuff because it seems like every lady that came to Debbie's studio wanted her reliefs framed with rustic wood and peeling paint. Yeah, so that kind of went out of favor, and I didn't like messing with the lead paint so much anymore, and this is the last one I have, and I'm going to use it to fix the bottom of this door, and then I'm out of the old door business. So I need to cut a bottom, so it's going to be just a tad longer than this inside dimension. And whatever's left, I'm gonna cut in half, and I'm gonna splice the bottom of these because they're not long enough. That was the main problem with that door. So I'm gonna cut the bottom to length, well, plus a little bit, and then see how much I got left. So I cut this piece off for the bottom, and the remainder is here, and I ripped it 3.5 inches to match this. Now I need, these are 2 inches too short. So that patch that was on there before came out all the way to here, and then the end grain soaked up water, and that was a lot of the reason it rotted, plus it was just old. So I have this much for both sides. I'm going to cut this in half at some kind of angle, and then we're going to cut these to match and glue it in there. And I got my patches ready, but I haven't glued them yet because I wanted to try to get one glue up for everything. Now this wood smells like fir. I think this is fir, which is not as good as cypress as far as being rot resistant. I think if I paint it up well, it'll last my lifetime for sure. It's probably good fir. So these are the pieces I have left. I'm cutting that last scrap in half. So yeah, this is pretty rotten. I'll put this here and add my extra 2 inches. Scribe a line here. I'm gonna cut that with a skill saw. And the same over here. I'm gonna cut that with the skill saw. And I don't know that I'm gonna do any fancy joinery. I'm probably just gonna epoxy it and maybe add some screws after the fact. But we're gonna go ahead and cut it. I put a sharp blade in my skill saw. That awful cut I made on my kitchen cabinet last video was because the blade was not sharp and it didn't want to go in a straight line, so I took care of that. We'll be all right. We need to clean out this joint. Okay, my little block, my little splice is ready to be glued in. This one's ready to be glued in. And my two, I don't know what you call these, my 2 side extensions are ready to glue. They got pretty good fit. So mix up some epoxy and I'm gonna glue them and clamp them. I got some plastic to keep the wood from sticking to the caul, which it will if I don't do that. And yeah, now I'm done for the day. This is a. So by the way, I moved the deer feeder out in front of the treehouse, and when the feeder goes off, it's pretty noisy. 5 minutes later, the deers come to munch, and I can watch them.
And they served lots of vegan food. Asked some questions about, the vegan diet, and he was talking about how, that helped his longevity in the NBA and how much energized he feels. Definitely seeing him. Definitely cool to see, and I'm excited that, he's on that lifestyle, and, me now being a part of that is, dope. Researchers say
Another new day. Boy, the days fly by when you get older. So all our patches, our strengthening is done. And now I need to cut this bottom piece. I don't have the router bit that this was made with, so we're gonna have to make do. First thing I wanna do is widen this gap a little bit, because apparently these panels were made for a wider gap. I had to plane this a little bit to get these to fit, but this is end grain and it's kind of soft, so I can't really plane it. So we're gonna widen this gap a little bit, and then I need to saw out these old dowels, and then we'll start looking at trying to make a joint here that looks halfway decent. Okay, using a scrap to verify that I've cut enough, and we're good. Don't have to fight that battle. Now I need to cut this to length, which will be from the inside of this, what do you call it, a rabbit? Or dado, from the inside of here to the inside of here. I got it marked and cut it on the miter saw. So I've got the saw set where I'm gonna remove, I don't know how to say this. I'm gonna take the mirror image of this little piece that's sticking out the farthest and make it go away up to the height of this little lip right here. I'm gonna do both sides, and luckily I have a piece I can practice on before I cut my big one. Okay, I got that. Now I need to remove this shoulder, but only the depth between that pencil mark and the edge right here. So it's a really, really shallow cut. Right Just a little confusing. Yeah, I need to crank the blade down and or should I cut it on the flat? I might cut this one on the flat, cut the rest of them on the flat. Might be easier, but I can cut my good one, first 2 cuts. I think I'm happy with those. All right, that did okay, I believe. Now we need to go that way with the saw blade and this way with the height to get this little section out. All right, we're getting kind of close. I just made that little deep cut for this bump. Now I need to make a deeper cut for this bump. And with a little luck, that might be it. I'm sure we'll need some fine tuning, but we're getting, probably need some fine tuning, but we're getting pretty close. Okay, we're getting really, really close. It looks like this shoulder needs to be a little deeper in the vertical direction. Well, both. And this shoulder in here is a little too proud. So I'm gonna go try to not take off too much, because that's a tendency when you try to fix these things. And see if it won't go in. Quite a few trips to the table saw later, trying to cut just a little bitty bit at a time in different directions. I think we have something I can live with. Oh yeah, well, for this project, I'll call that a win for my shower door here I'm trying to save. We're going to put lots of thickened epoxy and glue it up. And eventually I need to put some mechanical fasteners. But we'll glue it first. Now, if there's a person out there, and I'm sure there is, with a little steadier hand and better eyesight than mine, you can almost get these things perfect with a table saw. You just have to take your sweet time, and there might be a little bit of sanding involved. The big advantage of making and using plugs instead of pieces of dowels. Dowels, the grain goes a long way with the diameter, and these plugs are cross grain, so when you glue them in, the grain is going to go parallel with the board that you're knocking them in with, and then you sand them and then they don't show. If you have a cross grain like the original plugs I put in there to strengthen the door, they show forever. Okay, what have we done? Well, we belt sanded all the big lumps, kind of make them kind of flat. A random orbital sanded everything with 80 grit. I wanted to break these corners because the existing door, nothing's sharp anymore. Everything's rounded, so I wanted to round them, besides it holds paint better. What else did I do? I put 2 more long screws in the bottom and I sanded all my dowels down. And it looks like the last time I repaired this door was, I don't know, 20 years ago. It looks like I ran a bunch of wood dowels all the way up in here. The grain's going the wrong way, so they're kind of ugly. But I'm gonna prime it. After I prime it, I'll do a little bit of dressing up. I don't want any cracks where water can get in because the door is kind of in the weather. And then I'll flip it over, prime the other side. We'll put the window glass back in. And yeah, we just need to finish it up and hang it. So we got a coat of primer. I did some spackle, sanded it down. And yeah, so far so good. And I looked through my paint junk and I found this can, which was kind of orangey, too orange for my taste. So I found this can of brown and emptied the rest of the brown in there. And it was still a little bit orangey. So I dumped in some dark stain, stirred it up. I think it's gonna be all right. I'm not messing with the yellow. This will be for another day. They're all oil based. I'm gonna go put a coat on, and it's gonna be beautiful. I'm trying to do a close-up of the joint. This is the part I cut off the bottom of the door. And you can see that I didn't exactly get the bumps to line up, but overall, I got the joint fitting well enough where I think it's going to be awesomely strong, especially with the epoxy glue. And this is old growth fir, clear fir, and that's this board that I added on the bottom and the two little ones. So not as rot resistant as the original door, which was all good cypress, but much better than what you can buy today. And with a good coat of paint, it's gonna do me for the next 20 years, which is I'm not gonna make it. So the door will outlast me, and let somebody else worry about it in the future. So Debbie says, is it okay to mix stain with oil-based paint? And I said, well, if it's your house, you can do anything you want. I've done it a couple of times before. Doesn't seem to affect anything. I think stain is basically watered down oil-based paint. Anyway, came out good, and it dried well, and we flipped it over and got a coat on the other side the next day. So the homemade dark red paint came out really, really thick, and I guess I could have put some thinner in it, solvent in it, but I didn't. And it came out really, really lumpy, had all kind of lumps in it, and I guess I could have strained it, but I didn't. But man, I'm super happy with the look, and the lumps blend in with all the old peeling paint anyway. So this is not going to dry today because it's oil base. We'll flip it and put a coat tomorrow. And then I'll put the glass back in, and then we'll have to spackle the glass, which I'm not very good at, but I'll give it a shot. And then we'll put it back up, and I can have some more privacy when I take a shower. So working on the second side, and I am putting oil-based paint in the groove that the glass is going to go, so that the glass glazing compound will stick better. I don't think it sticks very well to raw wood. So plus this has already been primed, but the primer is latex based, so we're painting it with red to get some oil-based paint in there. Okay, second side, the paint is kind of dry. It's not really hard yet, and I'm putting latex caulk in the joint to set the glass in. My goal is not really to stick the glass in there, but to get a cushion for the glass so it'll be supported uniformly, because the wood's kind of mangled up over the years, and I don't want one spot holding the glass and then the door slams real hard and the glass cracks. So I want a nice squishy cushion. I'll put the glass in while it's wet, and then the glass will be held nice and comfortable like a mama holds her baby. I put the smooth side of the glass up. It'll be where the glass glazing compound goes, so it won't be quite so much problem cleaning up after the fact. So I was in the hardware store to pick up the glazing compound, and they had it in a huge container, and it doesn't keep that well, you know, from one project to the next. I might not need this stuff for a couple of years and end up throwing it away. It gets hard. I just threw away half a container. So I saw that right next to the big containers was a small container, or this size anyway, could have used smaller. And I grabbed it, and I'm glazing with it. And I realized after the fact that it's not glazing compound, it is plumber's putty. Now the instructions on the can, it says it's an approved use for glazing windows, but you got to allow 7 to 14 days for it to set before you paint it. And I came back after 3 days. I was ready to paint, but that wasn't happening. It's still super soft. So So there's no way I'm claiming to be a window glazier. It's an art. It's for people with good eyesight and steady hands. I have neither. I'm making do. But basically, you take a stainless steel blade, it has to be very smooth, and you smash it in the corner as best you can. And you put excess, and then you drag the knife along and kind of make a smooth bevel. Yeah, it sounds easy. It's easy to do. It's hard to make it really pretty. That, ladies and gentlemen, is probably not how you do it, but I did. So just got home from the country. This is Thursday afternoon, and I did this window glazing on Tuesday, and I thought for sure it would be set up enough to paint, but it is still super soft. So no painting today, but it did give me a chance to kind of go over it and make it a little bit nicer, because I'm kind of shaky, so it was kind of rough. But I'm gonna go ahead and hang the door and call this video done. So I need to put the hinges on the door. Now this is pretty simple stuff. This is not like hanging a door in a door frame where the hinges have to be mortised in and mortised into the door frame and the door. You have to worry about weather stripping and a lock and all that stuff. This is just really kind of like a partition. So this is easy schmeezy. This door has only ever known 2 hinges. When I got it, it had 2 hinges on this side. At some point in the past, it had 2 hinges on that side. And I put back 2 hinges on this side, and that's how it's been for the last 20 years. But I have 3 hinges. I have 3 matching hinges, so I'm gonna put 3 on there. Doesn't hurt anything. And because they're probably too big, instead of having the hinges like mortised like this, I'm just gonna put them flush with the face. That's gonna make it a lot easier to hang, and I'll show you that in a little while. But so just got a block of wood clamp, drop the hinge on it, put the screws in it, do the next one. They don't have to be anywhere at all. Put this one in the middle of this. This paint's still sticky for some reason. Put this one here, and then we're gonna go to the opening and try to hold it up steady and get screws in it. All right, one down, 2 to go. The door is 6'7". The opening is 6'9", so that's 2 inches, and I want to leave it like a 1/2 inch at the top. So we've got a stack of scrap right here, 1.5 inches tall. Set the door on top of that. Since the hinges on the door are flush with the face of the door, whatever crack I leave here is going to be the crack between the door and this stop. And like I say, it doesn't have to have weather stripping because look, we're in the weather. Yeah, this should be easy. Now I don't have a doorknob yet, but I still have the old lock. So let's see. So my little stack of scraps on the floor hold the door up the right elevation. And then I just need to get this top hinge about 1/8 to 3/16 away from the door stop. And at the same time, the bottom hinges need to be halfway close. And then I needed to balance the screw into the bit tip so I could put a screw in the top. After I got one screw in the top, it's just a matter of moving the door around until the other 2 hinges are in approximately the same distance from the door stop, and throw some screws in there, and that's it. So the door was not the only thing that was rotten. The bottom of the 6x6, which is the corner post, which is the door jamb, it's pretty wonky at the bottom too. So I've kicking it around. Later on I went and got a 2-pound hammer with a block of wood and banged on it some more and got it pretty close. And to get it perfect, I took the 4x6 that's on this side and banged it around and got it fitting pretty good. Okay, not too shabby. My 6x6 corner post is kind of loose on the bottom, so I was able to knock it around until we got a good fit, and we have a good fit. Now what I don't have is a doorknob, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do for that, but I do need to put probably an angle bracket on that 6x6 because it's really getting kind of loose at the bottom. It's kind of soft. See what I can find for that too. Okay, I beat those posts around, and now we got fittage, and I got a handle. So what I don't have is a way to keep that post from sliding around. So I've got a piece of copper here. I was thinking about trying to bend it, and then I could attach it. Terrible video. I took a flat piece of copper and bend it, double bend to get around that little concrete bump. The top of it is screwed to the wood post in this picture, and I'm drilling through 2 pre-drilled holes to drill into the concrete to set some plastic anchors. So I drill the holes, I pull the copper up, set the plastic anchors, and bent the copper back down and put in the screws, and it is good enough for now. It's better than what we had. Okay, this project's done, but I know what my next project will be. All this stuff is starting to rot. It's all getting pretty nasty. I don't know what I'm going to do for a shower when I take this down, because that's really going to be privacy void. I take a shower out here every night of the year, except last year 2 nights the faucet was frozen. It was too cold. I couldn't get water to come on, and it sounds kind of brutal, but the hot water heater is right above Debbie's windshield, so when you come out here and crank open a hot valve, the water turns hot really fast. Drying off and getting back in the house, that's a different situation. Anyway, the door's done. Pretty pleased. Thank you for watching.